Imagine you have just survived the largest war in the history of human existence. Your friends that you have served with have become more like family to you. Those who didn't lose their lives lost their minds. You return home with the horrors of war fresh in your mind. You turn to the only thing that you know can help ease your pain: alcohol. You drink so much that it becomes a normal thing for you. Soon you drink even at work. Even your doctor prescribes you with hard liquor. You are an addict. A new anti-alcohol organization was established. The organization was started by a man named Wayne Wheeler, and his group was known as the Anti-Saloon League. Their success was mostly achieved by making alcohol look bad and spreading propaganda. They promised that alcohol was the source of everyone's problems. Prohibition, the act of outlawing intoxicating drinks, was finally proposed in Congress in 1913, not just as a law, but as a constitutional amendment. In 1919, the 18th Amendment was created. First, it seemed like many Americans supported Prohibition, but a lot of people couldn't find anything to fill the void that alcohol created when it became illegal. Not surprisingly, many Americans decided to create illegal bars. One loophole that they found was that, in the amendment, it said that the sale and manufacture of alcohol was illegal, but drinking it was not. Whiskey that was given as a prescription was allowed. Prohibition leaders didn't like that people were finding so many ways to break the law, but they weren't willing to pay for enforcement. So if there's a law but no one is enforcing it, is it really a law? The government tried to combat this by creating the Bureau of Prohibition, which had 1,500 agents. The Bureau of Prohibition got created by putting toxins in ingredients used to make alcohol. This made hundreds of people sick. Despite the threat of death, people continued to make alcohol and got away with it by paying police and bribing them. Wealthy people turned their homes into illegal bars called speakeasies. When one was eventually shut down, 3 more would randomly open up. One Prohibition agent named Izzy Einstein got creative and decided to travel to America to see how long it would take him to find illegal alcohol. The winner was New Orleans. His cab driver offered him a drink after just 35 seconds. People in Congress started to get fed up with Prohibition's failures and started to speak against it. They were particularly fed up when they saw that gangs were running wild and making more money than they were. A few people started anti-prohibition leagues that funded presidential candidates who were anti-prohibition. President Hoover believed at first that prohibition was a good thing, but after seeing all the gang violence, he decided that prohibition wasn't helping anyone. In 1929, Al Capone was arrested for tax evasion. He was well known for selling illegal liquor and starting gang violence. That same year, the Great Depression began. 50 million people lost their jobs and half of the nation's banks failed. People rushed to their banks to take their money before the banks permanently closed. But many were too late and lost their life savings. Very few people had time to care about prohibition when feeding their starving families became a major issue. President Hoover was unable to prevent this from happening. Some started to argue that repealing prohibition would create jobs for workers and put more cash in the average person's pockets. During the presidential election of that year, Hoover ran against Theodore Roosevelt. Once FDR said he would repeal prohibition, Hoover knew that he would lose the election. It was a landslide, with only 6 states voting for Hoover and 44 voting for FDR. Before he was even in office, Republicans started creating and ratifying the 21st Amendment, which brought an end to prohibition. When people heard about this, they celebrated like they had just won a war. Bars opened that very day, and the party went all night. Abolishing prohibition led to the creation of jobs for the unemployed, a significant reduction in gang violence, and allowed police to focus on more important things without the distraction of bribery. While prohibition did provide opportunities for gangs to make profit from making alcohol, it did reduce alcohol consumption in homes, which in turn caused a reduction in alcohol-influenced domestic violence, a growing issue at the time. In the end, while prohibition had its flaws, it started social and economic changes that had lasting effects on our society.